The ability to understand and create meaning relies on how we arrange different concepts in our mind. These connections are called as mapping. These mapping help us in projecting different ideas, comparing concepts, and imagining alternate scenarios. They also give us an insight on how our mind organizes different areas of knowledge, even the ones which we are not aware of.
Just like how scientists explore the space, we are going to explore our own minds and we are going to use language as our tool. And now we will look how our mind thinks and how we communicate. But unlike studying the stars and the particles, our thoughts and language are deeply interconnected. Can language and thoughts be used to study themselves? Let's figure out. Language and thoughts are complex, but by understanding language and thoughts, we can understand our own mind. By looking at how we use the language, we can understand the way of our thinking. By understanding language and thoughts, we can understand our own mind.
Of the video, you will have a better understanding of cognitive mapping and a clear view of how the inner working of human mind takes place.
So now we are going to look into different types of mappings. First one is uh, projection mapping, second one is pragmatic mapping, and the third one is schema mapping. Projection mapping projects structures from one domain, which is a source, to another domain, which is a target. And now we are going to look some examples of projection mapping. Wow, that smash was like a rocket. Nice. So in this example, the word rocket is not used as its literal meaning, but instead it is used as a conceptual metaphor to represent the intensity of the shot.
Now let's look on to another example of projection mapping. The example is time is money. The classic saying time is money is a perfect example of projection mapping. Here's how it is breakdown. Source domain and the target domain. The source domain is the money and the target domain is the time. We understand time as a valuable resource similar to money. Wasting time feels like we are wasting money because both require effort to acquire and have a limited quantity. The projection from concrete concept money helps us to grasp abstract value of time. Now let's further break it down. The money and the time. Money we can physically hold, earn, spend or save. It represents the value and the effort put in acquiring it. Then the time. We can't hold or save time in the same way, but we can spend it wisely or waste it. By using the concept of money, the saying emphasizes the value of our time and the importance of using it efficiently. Now we will look onto the second type of mapping, which is the pragmatic mapping, also called as pragmatic function mapping. These are established between two entities by a virtue of shared frame of experience. Hey, is that you, Paul?
John, no way. What are you doing here? Last I heard, you were off traveling Southeast Asia.
Just got back a few weeks ago. Decided it was finally time to tackle that mountain of reading I had been putting off.
Researching for that big history project? Yeah, feels like I haven't been in library since. Well, since we used to cram for finals here.
Yeah, true. Though back then it was more about gossip magazines than Shakespeare.
Speaking of Shakespeare, I actually need that one.
Yes, me too. I can't reach the Shakespeare on the top shelf. Looks like we haven't lost our teamwork skills though. How about you boost me up? If someone directly comes across the statement, I can't reach Shakespeare on the top of the shelf, he or she will think a person named Shakespeare is sitting on the top of the shelf. But this is not the case. With the context, we have to understand this. So, in this context, when the person are talking in a library, they mean a book name which is written by an author named Shakespeare is kept on the top of the shelf and they can't reach there. Now we will look into another example. In this scenario, his response may seem cryptic at first, but it's actually an example of pragmatic mapping in action. The phrase too many fishes in the sea typically refers to the abundance of options or opportunities available, often in the context of dating or relationship, which we can see here. However, in this context, he pragmatically maps the metaphorical meaning onto the project deadline, indicating that he had too many different tasks to complete and cannot afford to take a break. Through pragmatic mapping, language becomes a flexible tool for conveying meaning beyond its literal interpretation, allowing individuals to communicate effectively.
So now we are going to look what is schema mappings. Schema mapping involves the process of structuring and organizing conceptual knowledge in form of recurring patterns and schemas. These schemas provide conceptual framework for understanding and categorizing the experience and concepts. Here is an example. If we consider the example of a container, the container involves the basic concept of containment, whereas one object, the container holds another object, which is the content, within its boundaries. And this schema is not limited to the physical containers, but it is also metaphorically extended to the abstract domains. So now we are going to look into some examples of schema mapping. In a romantic relationship, the individuals involved are metaphorically contained in a relationship, which is a container. Similarly, in a friendship, the friends are contained within the friendship container. Also, in a business partnership, the partners are metaphorically contained within the partnership container. In each of these examples, the container schemas are mapped onto the abstract concept like relationship, providing a cognitive framework for understanding and conceptualizing them. These schemas allows individuals to structure their understanding of relationships based on the familiar concept of containment.